All right, Reggie and Bobby. This is the location of the incident that started a major shootings back and forth, as I remember, between the ATF and the Nutty Block Compton Crips, where some innocent people might have got involved or actually did. And this is why some of you guys shouldn't be letting y'all sisters and stuff mess with gang members, because this is what I believe this is a result of. Could you explain what happened at this situation, Bobby?
Yeah, the incident I'm going to talk about is actually two shootings between the Nutty Block Crip gang, which is one of our larger Crip sets in Compton, and they were warring with, at the time, a gang called the ATF. Now, the ATF is actually three gangs in one. It was the Acacia Block, Spooktown, and Farm Dog Crips. These guys had to merge and align together to combat the gangs that they were warring against, which was, at the time, Nutty Block and also the CV70s. The particular shooting that I'm going to talk about, which, like I said, is two of them, it happened on December 2nd, 1995. Now, I'm going to jump ahead so you guys can understand what I'm talking about, because after these two shootings happened, okay, myself and Officer Eddie Aguirre, who I was partnered with in the morning, we arrested the driver of one of the cars involved in this incident. Now, this guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he was an ATF gang member, and he actually was driving during the incident, and he spilled the beans, and he snitched on everybody. He told exactly what happened, and it goes down just like this. It was about 12 noon on December 2nd, and this driver of this car, the ATF guy, said that they were all hanging out in the 200 block of West Caldwell Street in the ATF area. It's really Spooktown Crips area. But this street was well known for drug activity and gang activity, and they were hanging out on the street doing their thing. And sitting in the car at this location was a female. Her name was Renika Jones. She just wasn't any ordinary female. She just happened to be the girlfriend of Alfred Shallowhorn. Now, Alfred Shallowhorn, he's an OG, been around a long time, a major dope dealer, major shot caller for this gang. Well, on this particular day, like I said, it was around 12 noon, a car drove up containing several male blacks in it, and they shot from a 9mm and just shot like 15 rounds. Well, according to our driver, two of the ATF guys immediately went down. They were shot in the leg, and then Renika Jones, who was sitting in the vehicle, she was hit in the upper torso. So our guy told me that one of the ATF guys ran to the bushes. He grabbed an AK-47 and ran out in the street to fire back at the vehicle, which was now speeding away. He said he got off one round at the vehicle, but the AK-47 jammed. He said at this time, several more of the ATF gang members jumped in the car. They took off trying to chase these guys who they told us were from Nutty Block. They chased them over to Alameda down to Greenleaf, but they lost them. Meanwhile, calls were flooding into the police department. The shots fired, subjects down. Our cops arrived. And again, they found two ATF gang members on the sidewalks, both suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to the legs. Well, Renika Jones, she had, like I said, gunshot wounds to the upper torso. She was transported to Martin Luther King Hospital, where she later died. So our guy said, hey, this Alfred Shallowhorn, he's a pretty mild-mannered guy. He was extremely pissed off after the shooting. And he said that we got to hold him and we got to pay back the Nutty Blocks. So we're all having a meeting down in Long Beach at one of the homies' house. I think his name is Big Mike, but that really doesn't matter.
Big Mike.
Yeah, so he went down, they all went down to North Long Beach, and there was probably about 10 or 12 ATF gang members, and they had a meeting. So during this meeting, he sent a couple of guys over to get some bullets because they had an AK-47 and they had a Tech 9 that they needed bullets for. So several of the ATF guys left. They came back about a half hour, got the bullets, and they said, hey, you guys need to find us a stolen vehicle now. So they went out, they left, but Alfred Shallowhorn said, I'm not going to have any of this. He was basically drinking and pissed off, and he's saying, fuck that. I can't wait for them homies to steal a G-Ride. So we're taking one of the homies' car, and we're going on a mission right now. So one of the homies had an old yellow beat up Cadillac. The driver's front door didn't open. So Alfred Shallowhorn and another guy got in the back seat. Alfred had the AK and the other guy had the Tech 9. And the guy that I arrested obviously was the driver. Now, he said, hey, everyone knows if they're going to go hunt for nutty blocks, they're going to come down to Dwight Street, which is over my shoulder, this 1004 South Dwight Street. This is where they all hung out. This was one of the main houses where dope deals went down, shootings, everything you could imagine. If you wanted to find a nutty block, he told me, you go to 1000 South Dwight, right behind me. So they were on their way there. But at the house at 1010 here, where these fine, good people live, they had a 16-year-old daughter who had another 16-year-old friend coming over. So the other girl arrived, and a male that was 20 years old arrived, and they were going to take him roller skating. So they come out of the house. They got the roller skates draped over their shoulders, and they're going out the car, which is parked right here, minding their own business, and they were good people. Didn't have anything to do with gangbanging. Gangbanging just happened to live next door to this house right here. Well, as they got to the car right about here, Alfred Shallowhorn and the yellow Cadillac pulled up right here, and they just emptied their clips into these poor innocent people. I mean, they both emptied their clips, and they just, it was really a horrific scene. He said the Cadillac took off southbound on Dwight, but he said that he didn't really know the area too good, so he went down to a dead end down there. He said that when he was turning around the dead end, a carload of nutty blocks jumped in from 1004 South Dwight, started to chase these guys. So they said he was down at the dead end of the street, and he's trying to get out, and they're trying to pin him in, and he's hitting parked cars, and now we have another car-to-car shooting going on. They're shooting the ATF gang members, and they're trying to get out of the neighborhood. So they finally get out to Caldwell Street, and there's one street that separates these two gangs, is Wilmington. Their car's all shut up to shit. It's smoking, but they're able to get back in their neighborhood, the safe zone over there in the farm. So Nutty Block stopped chasing them at that time. Well, meanwhile, our cops get the call, 10 South Dwight, and it just was a horrific scene. The father was holding his 16-year-old girl laying down. She was shot in the head. She was dead at the scene. He's bawling and crying. The other 16-year-old girl was laying next to her. She was shot in the head, and she was dead at the scene. And the 20-year-old male was shot to shit too, but he was still alive. But just a sad, horrific crime scene. I think Reggie ended up coming here and talking to the father, which...
Naturally, when that type of incident like that, because it came out 2 or 3 gunshot victims at this location, while all that other stuff was going on that Bobby just talked about. When I got here as one of the first ones on the scene and stuff, naturally we could see how chaotic it was, bodies everywhere and all. My first thing was I saw this older guy, this guy like holding this young lady in his arm and stuff, and it was just gruesome and stuff. So I later found out that was his daughter and stuff. But I do recall telling him, you know, after we found out 1 or 2 of them were dead and it was going to be a serious incident, we're going to stay on this. This is something that shouldn't have happened, especially me knowing that these young ladies were not involved in any kind of way, or these people, they're just living next door to the wrong people, and they got shot up. So we had a commitment to that, and I told him that we're going to stay on this case until we find out who were responsible and get the person. So we eventually did follow up on the investigation, was able to arrest Alfred Shallowhorn, and those people, and got them arrested. I said that stuck out so well. But ironically, we're out here at the scene talking about the incident, and who comes out of the house is the father, who I saw holding his daughter that night. They still live here and all. And so I walked up to reintroduce myself to him, and he remembered me right off the bat and stuff. And he says, man, I don't have no problem with you guys filming here or talking about that. I remember you. He said, you told me that night that we weren't going to go home, Compton PD, we were going to solve this. And you kept your word. He just told me that about 30 minutes ago. and was very appreciative of that, and they still remember. But it was gruesome. That was it was one of those horrific scenes, ended up being a triple homicide and stuff, where we as a gang unit was committed to stay on top of it and hold the people accountable that were responsible. And Shalahorn, I knew him very well as well, and I didn't think he was that type of guy. But eventually, I knew he was a shot caller, but not so much to go out and do stuff on his own. But the killing of his girlfriend, and I think they were his fiance, I should say, that really triggered him. And I'm not trying to excuse him or condone him. I'm just trying to tell you what triggers this kind of stuff. And that's exactly what happened at this scene.
Getting back to the shooting, so the yellow Cadillac drives across over to Wilmington back in the farms, and it has a flat front tire, it's smoking, it's got traffic accident damage. So the car stalls over there. So Alfred Shalahorn and the other guy jump out with their weapons, and they hide him in the yard over there. And they tell our driver to go back over to Caldwell Street where this incident all started and get the homies and come back and get him. So he runs all the way over there. It's about a quarter of a mile. But he tells the homies, hey, they're stuck over there. The car stalled. You need to go get them. Well, these guys jump in two vehicles. There was Alfred's car had 4 ATF members in it, and a following vehicle which had 2 females and 2 more ATF gang members. Well, after hearing the shots come out, 2 of our gang officers, Gary and Richardson, they immediately go to ATF looking for the suspect. Well, they get over there. They find an informant and said, hey, the homies just did a drive-by in Nutty Block. They're over there in the farms, and they're going to get the homies. They're stuck over there, right? So Ray and Eddie take off over to where the car is stalled, but they got there just a little too late. They saw Shalahorn's car, Oldsmobile take off, and it was followed by another vehicle. They were able to stop the second vehicle, which contained 2 females and 2 ATF gang members, and that started the whole ball rolling. Reggie, Timmy, they all worked all night long, and they were able to identify the shooter, Alfred Shalahorn, and the other guy, and they were able to get him in custody that same night. Now, me and Eddie came in. We took off in the morning, and that's when we found our shooter who gave up the whole incident, which I just talked to you about. So at least it was a horrific crime, but they were filed on with the DA's office, and Alfred Shalahorn is still in prison. And at least we're able to give some closure to this family. We weren't able to bring their innocent daughter back, of course, but at least we gave him some sort of closure, which obviously he's very thankful for. So it makes us feel good.
Yes.